La da da da. La da 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 da. La da da. La da da da. Corn. Oh my God! Yesterday. Well, let's back things up. Let me get all the homies in here. All right. And go. And hello, crafters. Big D in the house. How y'all doing tonight? I am painting. And we're talking about some chaos. Holy crap. How y'all doing? Good to see y'all tonight. So, yesterday was Corn Day. 8/8. 8/8. The number of the cornflakes, apparently. No, August 8th, 2022, and we got to see all the new stuff, the new Berserker model, the new Corn Berserker model. Pretty cool. A bunch of new stats for the Corn Demons. Things looking pretty good. Wish I played Corn, but I don't. So ultimately, it was cool, but I hope people enjoy it. I really do. I really hope people enjoy it. Because it seems cool as hell to me. If I was more into them, I'd really be into that. Hello, crafters. Big D here. And we are thinking some deep thoughts, painting some crazy-ass miniatures. What do we got on the bench? We are in the final stretch. Got some nice reds and some nice depths down. Getting some of these word bearers finished up. We got about a week and a half until the tournament. Yeah, we got some World Leaders, Horus Heresy as well, too. They got their shoulders and their helmets. Yeah, we'll get into that. So, on the bench, what are you working on? We are working on this army for this tournament in 2 weeks. The list got revised last week. I pulled out the Terminators and replaced them with Warp Talons. I went on a 5-man squad of Warp Talons. Holy crap, these figures are busy. Warp Talons, they got gosh. I mean, Chaos does not screw around. These guys got symbols and icons and sigils and raised surfaces and shit everywhere. Man. I mean, they're not as bad as the Sisters of Battle, but holy crap. They're up there. Superfly, Ben Garaskio, and Tina Raven. Hello, my friends. Good to see you all. Dag, Hammer. So, yeah, Gen Con was last week. And what did we see coming out of Gen Con? Well, we got not a lot, really. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff for Lord of the Rings. Like Lord of the Rings getting a massive refresh, it looks like a couple new box sets, a couple new boxed armies. Like they're actually putting some time and effort into that game. Wowzers. But really, I mean, we got to see some new stuff with our buddies, the Hearthkin, the Leagues of Votown. We got to see their new Berserkers, which are a bunch of big, burly, big dwarves. Giant dwarves. I mean, it's a thing. They're giant dwarves. They're pretty cool looking, but I hope that they're still on the 25s. It looks like the rest of the army is, because there'll be these gigantic piles of meat on a disc that they barely fit on. Troops are the same as they were 20 years ago. I mean, considering the movie is from 20 years ago and everybody's still like, it's the greatest fantasy movie ever made. I'm gonna offend some nerds tonight because I don't dislike Lord of the Rings. I want to say that when I preface what I'm saying with it, I don't dislike Lord of the Rings. But I mean, it was cool. It was well done. It's a really cool movie. The books were a thing. I mean, the books were they started the genre off in the modern version, and I can't take that away from them. And they weren't unwatchable movies. They were good movies. They were enjoyable movies. I think they get as much credit as they do because of the scope of what they did with the films and the amount of ground they covered and the amount of detail they did, which I mean, again, all these things were amazing. But basically the whole story was we're going to run around for like 8 hours of movies until some girl that we barely know stabs the dude in charge, and the little dude that's been whining for the rest of the thing gets a finger bit off and loses the ring that he's been carrying around all this time. I mean, it really was kind of a Duke Machina ending, and that's always been my complaint about that series, is that like the heroes that did all this stuff kind of set all this stuff up for like one or two people to really make it happen. I don't know. It was great. Don't get me wrong. They're enjoyable. I just look at the guys that watch them like every couple of months. They rewatch them, and all they do is talk about them. And all they do is talk about the movies, and they talk about Lord of the Rings. And it's just like, dude, they were cool. They were great. I'm not saying they're not, but I mean, like, I'm more hyped for the D&D movie that's coming out than I am for any type of Lord of the Rings, this Lord of the Rings series that's coming up, because they're doing a prequel type Lord of the Rings series. And I'm like, that's cool. Hey, D&D's getting a movie. I want to see that. That looks good. So, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, Conan was my jam. I love the Conan movies because that was like, simple but widespread. And it wasn't great acting, but it was, I don't know. That's more my jam. So, which is shocking because we're talking about KHORN, and like KHORN, which is basically raw and not my jam. I don't know. Like I said, I know my kids both love the Lord of the Rings movies, and I know a couple of my best friends in the world absolutely, my niece, absolutely love the Lord of the Rings movies, and that's cool. And to me, they're just kind of like, that's okay. I mean, they're cool. I've watched them. I don't ever really need to see them again. They're not the kind of movie I need to see another one. The D&D movie has a really low bar. It does, because the last ones are really bad. But this one looks really, really fun. I mean, that's what D&D should have been. It should have been the D&D movie they made the first time. It looks hilarious and fun. And, they're making fun of the bard, which every good D&D group, he's the bard. Oh, jeez. I mean, that looks fun. Yeah, hey, Art, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, I'm not dissing the Lord of the Rings movies. I think they're great. They're just, I saw them, and then I watched through the director's cut, extended, whatever editions, that I lost an entire weekend to watch those 3 movies, and was just like, I couldn't even get through the Hobbit series. And the Hobbit's my favorite of all the books. And I got lost. I watched the first one, and I'm just like, Uh oh, there you are. I didn't even see you. Did you speak something earlier? I didn't see you speak earlier. There you are. Lovely Phoenix. Yeah, that was the thing. I loved the Hobbit book. I really did. I actually love that book. And I gotta say, the old Rankin Bass animated movie of The Hobbit was, I thought it was fun. And I was a kid when it came out. It was adorable and I loved it. And it was great. And that's what set my expectations for, Lord of the Rings. And like I said, hello, my lovely brother. Good to see you. Now there's a thing. Star Wars, I like Star Wars a lot. No, I mean, I'm not like a fanatic, but I do love Star Wars. I mean, I just rewatched Mandalorian and Boba Fett again, because I think they're great. I'm really hyped for this new Star Wars series coming out. I actually loved Rogue One. Oh man, Rogue One was so good. I'm kind of softening on my original hate for the prequel trilogy. I'm like, Jar Jar is still awful, but the Duel of the Fates is still probably one of the best action sequences in any Star Wars movie. So, yeah, I mean, Star Wars is great. They're not something I can rewatch everything with. Like, I can rewatch the original trilogy. I can rewatch the first two movies of the original trilogy pretty often. The third one I got to be in a mood to watch. So, I mean, but the Star Wars is great. Again, no, Gran Torino, yeah, I could drop that movie down and watch it any given time. That movie is freaking amazing. And it's weird because I love sci-fi and John Wick. Yeah. I mean, there are some movies I can sit down and watch at any given time. Like you can drop a Matrix movie and boom, in it. I'm all about it. I will watch Matrix in a heartbeat. You can drop a Conan movie and I will watch Conan in a heartbeat. Trying to think, what other sci-fi do I really, really get into? I mean, Interstellar was amazing. Moon was amazing. If you want to talk space opera, I don't know. I mean, I like it all. Don't get me wrong. Blade Runner is by and far the greatest movie ever made. Period. And I will stand on that one. Star Trek, yeah, okay. There's one that I will watch a lot. I do love me some Star Trek. Again, I'm not a Trekkie. I don't feel like I need to dress up and know all the little details. But I actually know more trivia about Star Wars than I do Star Trek. But I love Star Trek. I don't know, man. I just it's weird. I think as I've gotten older, I've there's actually less and less movies that I'm trying to. Yeah, one of the best lines ever. Question, everybody. Excuse me. What does God need with a starship? Great line. Probably the best line out of the original series of Star Trek movies. Good media drives a good IP. A good IP does not always drive a good media. An interesting thing we've gotten onto this topic, as I'm coming up on a year in my subscription to Warhammer Plus. Now, Warhammer is an incredible IP. So many possibilities, so many capable things. And Warhammer Plus is hitting about 50% of it. About half of it has been really good. Really, really, really good. And half of it has been kind of... Hammer and Bolter is a perfect example. I'm going to take a lot of flack for this because a lot of people hate the animation style in the first 6 episodes of Hammer and Bolter, and I love that style of animation. I love that scratchy kind of not proportioned perfect animation style. Very reminiscent of Aeon Flux, very reminiscent of portions of the Heavy Metal movie. I really dig that style of animation. And I know that's a me thing. I know a lot of people don't like it. I've heard my buddy Ben refer to some of that animation as it looks like bad Flash animation. And I see where you're coming with that at times. If that's your mindset going into it, I'm an animation freak. I like animation more than I like live action stuff most of the time. There are very few. It's really funny because my top favorite movies of all time are all non-animated, except for Totoro. But then you get that's not my top 5. But then you get into the next 15, and half of those are animated. Animated films, animated IPs, because you can do so much more with animation up until recently. That's changing. FX are really getting... the Marvel Universe has shown that the whole MCU has shown that FX have caught up. But I still have a great love of animation. So you look at Hammer and Bolter, and the first episode of Hammer and Bolter, the storyline was really kind of interesting, but the animation was so jarring because the storytelling kind of jumped around so much. It was really hard to follow the story for the first half of the episode. And then once it finally closed in, you're like, oh, okay. And then it was over. And it was just that was the one I really didn't like. But then they had the some of those Hammer and Bolter episodes are absolutely amazing. There's the techno-archaeologist with Savior Protocols, I believe is the name of the episode, where it's just a techno-archaeologist walking around with a Sentinel robot, and just an amazing, interesting, conceptual story. Simple animation, not a lot of big action sets, but just the animation did tell a lot of the story. The story of the great commissar at the Orcs' Fear. Gosh, why can't I not think of his name? My buddy Jack Rahid, because he uses them in every army. He uses that figure in every Imperial Guard army he runs with. Really great story, and interesting to see the story from the perspective of the orcs, the great commissar that laid them to waste. Angels of Death. I know some people that hated that series because the mouths didn't sync up. The computer animation on it was lacking. I'm not going to lie, it wasn't. The mouths didn't really sync up with it, and there was a lot of uncanny valley going on there. I agree. But the concept and the conceptuality of it, the fact that it was entirely in black and white, except where red was involved. Whenever there was red, the red was in color. I enjoyed that story. I enjoyed it to the point where I actually kind of more interested in learning more about the Blood Angels than I was before, because people who know me know I can't really stand the Blood Angels, or couldn't before then. But watching Angels of Death, I was like, that's interesting. The animation, the short for Hammer and Bolter, they did for Cadia Stands, possibly my favorite episode. Real quick, possibly my favorite episode of that series. Such a powerful thing. Explains, Mr. Kirschbaum, how you doing, sir? Just the whole Cadia Stands episode really explains why people who like the Guard for being the Guard. It really goes, this is why we like the Guard. And just watch this episode, and if you get it, you understand why they like the Guard. But then they did the Exodite and that 3-episode Tau series. They hyped it so much, and the animation was so great. And I watched it twice because I still can't figure out what the actual plot was. Other than they were trying to do some beacon stuff, and there was a Eldar hunter, and it was just, that was it. And it just, I don't know. Just a terrible, terrible plot. Animation was beautiful. Seeing a stealth suit work the way that they're supposed to work, and having both generations of stealth suits in that one was really cool. A great homage to earlier sculpts. Commissar Yarrick, yes. Yeah, it was bothering me too, but not so much that I couldn't go look. Yes, Yarrick. Yeah, great episode. Yarrick the One-Eyed. But yeah, I mean, that Exodite was beautiful animation, terrible, terrible story. So a good IP doesn't always drive a good media. The flip side is, good media may make a good IP, but not every IP is meant to work in every format. I think one of the best examples of that I've seen, a Star Trek role-playing game. Playing in one. Doesn't work. It didn't work. I had somebody who knew Star Trek and understood Star Trek, and they couldn't get it to work as a game. It just didn't work. Flip side, a buddy of mine many years ago, before the new series came out. No, it wasn't everybody wanted to be Kirk. Honestly, that was the weird thing. It wasn't everybody wanted to be Kirk. But it just, you realize one of the biggest problems with the show is that the captain should never leave the freaking ship. He should never be the one to go on an away team. It just didn't work. And there were issues. I'll leave it at that. It doesn't work as a role-playing game because you still got rank and order of position and Star Wars works to an extent as a role-playing game. I can't ever get past the point in my mind, if you're running it in the Rebellion era, like, pre-Return of the Jedi, your characters are there to be background filler. They're there to do the missions so that the main heroes of the films can do their thing. You're never the hero. So you got to set it in some other time. And if you set it some other time, it's really cool, but then it's kind of a generic space opera. So there's some reality with it there. And I suppose there's ways you could do it. Leverage and Supernatural RPs weren't more successful. I always thought Leverage as a role-playing game would have been a great idea. It's basically a role-playing game where you're playing Heist of the Month. And I think that's a really cool idea for a game. But it's basically Shadowrun. I mean, Shadowrun is basically, it's cyberpunk Heist of the Week with magic and elves. You know, I mean, it's really what it is. But that's why Shadowrun's one of my favorite. And yet, all but one of the Shadowrun games, and that's the only one, is the most recent Shadowrun video game I've ever been exposed to, have sucked. They were terrible. And Shadowrun has never, the books have all been kind of meh. I've never liked the books because they've just got, what writers can we get and throw at to make a book? Yeah, I know. I actually remember I borrowed your leverage set at one point. It seemed kind of fun. Supernatural is another one that I think Supernatural would be really great, but it's kind of like Buffy, or there's a couple older versions of the same thing. It's basically Hunter. It's basically Hunter the Reckoning from White Wolf, really in another format, which I think is a good format. I think the problem with it is that, again, it's going into a Supernatural was popular because it was the best way to do the media for an IP concept. People that hunt monsters and hunt bad guys and hunt demons. But when you look at it in a game standpoint, there were so many other role-playing games that already did that concept that it was kind of like, I mean, well, I'm not going to stop that just to play this one because it's branded the right way, because this is a good system for it. Or even not even it's a good system for it. This is the system I'm used to it. So and that's the thing. Like I said, media to IP. Sometimes there's a good match. Sometimes there's not. The Star Wars role-playing game I always thought was okay conceptually. It had issues. On the other hand, the miniatures game, the X-Wing fighter game, and the Star Wars Legions, the miniatures tabletop war game, and years ago they had another collectible figure game. I think it was just called Star Wars Battles. I don't remember the name because it was years ago when I was still working for Wizards of the Coast, and I was actually teaching the game and playing the game and covering the competitive scene for it in Dragon Magazine. And that was a fun game. That was a fun game because they had some interesting mechanics and some interesting ways you had to build armies and themes you had to build around armies. And that was a lot of fun. And I got to actually see recently the X-Wing, or I got to see one of the games recently. I think it was X-Wing. Really looked like a fun game. I've heard that if that's not the big ship battle, if that was just the fighter game, it was good. But I've also heard that the one with the big capital ships is a really fun game, and I like Starship Battle type games. Starship Battles, the original, it was called Starfleet Battles. It was a ship to ship combat game. Armada, that's the Star Wars one. Yeah. So there was X-Wing fighter. There's X-Wing combat or X-Wing Starfighter Battles, whatever. And there's Armada. They're both really good games. Starfleet Battles was Star Trek's really first foray into ship-to-ship combat, and of its day. Now, keep in mind, this game came out in the 80s, early mid-80s, lead figures and everything. The figures were amazing. The game mechanics were beautiful, and the game was a lot of fun. It was a really solid game. But again, it was a war game based on you have a fleet of starships and you're fighting another fleet of starships, and you could release starfighters, and you could have smaller shuttles or bigger shuttles, and fighter shuttles, and then big starships. And they actually had a bunch of the ships from the books in there, so you could actually get the Federation Dreadnought class which was this weird looking thing that they only talked about in like one or two of the books, but it was the biggest warship the Federation had ever made, and they had made it in response to the Borg. And it was this just, instead of having the 2 pylons, it had 3, and it had this weird like double disc hull and tons of guns. And it was a cool game. It was a very cool game. I tried playing the Star Trek role-playing MMO, where basically you're a captain of a ship and you're role-playing your crew. You're the captain of your ship and you give orders to your crew and you interact with other captains. And that was a bloody mess. Yeah, I did not like that game. I did not like it at all. I played it for like, I want to say for like a month and a half, maybe 2 months. And I did not enjoy that game at all. I didn't enjoy the gameplay. I didn't enjoy the interaction with other players. I will never forget running into the SS Aragorn. I'm like, nope, we're done. All right, you're already screwing up your IPs here, buddy. And I think the same goes for like superheroes, because you look at like IPs as superheroes, and like the DC stuff is really good to read at times, but a lot of their movies are pretty crappy. But they're HeroClix when HeroClix, I think it's still a thing, but when I was playing HeroClix, like a lot of the DC figures were really good for the game, but their role-playing game lacked problems. Their MMO was interesting. I don't want to say it was bad. It wasn't good. It was just kind of a thing. So, it's all about how it translates. Marvel MCU, and the most successful franchise of any movie series ever. I mean, it's basically just printing their own money at this point. My favorite comics of all time are in there. Their first role-playing game was silly but fun. A lot of their video games are pretty good. But I couldn't see playing another role-playing game of theirs because you're basically overshadowed by everybody. So, and I think that's the biggest problem with trying to play a role-playing game in a IP that has so many defined characters. That's the difference between, say, playing in a Star Wars setting as opposed to playing a role-playing game in a Warhammer setting. Little D has been running a 40K game. We're playing a group of Inquisitors, and that's been a very fun game. The only real name character you come into are people that Little D has had other campaigns run, and they've become people in the setting. But it's not like every time we're turning around, we're running into a Primarch, or we're turning into, some named dude. We're running into the bad guys and the good guys that he's created. So it's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable setting. A lot of people are hyped for some of the video games for 40K. I played a few of them, and the Mechanicum game is really fun. The Warhammer Total War game, another thing they announced yesterday on KHORN Day, was that KHORN's all coming now to Total War 3, which is the old Warhammer fantasy game set in video game. And interesting, again, a setting for a game makes another good game. You're just making it in a different part of the genre. You're expanding the lore. I think that works out. Again, I think the biggest problem with their IP is that because their IP is so big, And there really is no defined good guy, bad guy. Like, it's hard to translate that into media, consumable media, because every story you tell, you're telling it from the perspective of who you're making the good guys. But then, are they really the good guys? I mean, in Angels of Death, I mean, compared to the Gene Stealer cults, yeah, the Space Marines are the good guys. They're not really good guys per se. They have a code. That is wonderful to hear. That is amazing to hear, Al. That's awesome. That is really cool. And yeah, that is kind of the thing that does make it interesting. I mean, I would love to see it in more, less of a short form, but I think that's part of the problem with Warhammer. I don't think you could make a long form film of, say, Warhammer 40K unless you're really defining your guys as heroes, because the general media, the general consumer, the normie isn't going to consume that. They're going to be like, well, who's the good guy? And your good guys aren't good guys. There's all forms of scale modeling. Very cool. Very cool. I made a tank. Or I should say, I made an APC, but it's evil. And it's got growths on it. I originally was making an APC for my word bearers. And I kind of went too chaotic. So I think I'm going to end up making this for my Death Guard and get another one to make for my guys. It's a little too terrible. The Horus Heresy could be an interesting series. Okay. I will do that, Al. I actually am going to be working on the thing's paint job as soon as I'm done with these guys. I did just paint for the Horus Heresy. I did just paint my my Redemptor Dreadnought. Still got to do a little bit more weathering on him, but he's mostly done. So bring him along too. Bring that to that show in September. Come check it out. Yeah, the Horus Heresy could be interesting, but again, you have to keep it in a single character's perspective. And that's something that modern media kind of demands. And the Horus Heresy is 50 some odd books from 50 some odd perspective characters. I honestly think it would be hard to do an objective movie about the Horus Heresy. I think you could do it about maybe the Siege Terra, but again, you'd have to surround it, like specifically surround it, their primary characters, kind of like an Avengers movie. You'd kind of have to center it on the Primarchs of the Defenders of Earth. And that doesn't sound very interesting to a normie walking in. I think that's the biggest problem that 40K has, is because everything is told in big. Yeah, now that I could see doing it, doing the Horse Heresy from like an idea concept of Clone Wars, where you've got a group of people that are basically, and so you're seeing the Clone Wars from their perspective, and they're constantly shifting through what's going on during the war. So they're observing it as they're going through it and going past it. That might be an interesting way to do it. Yeah. See, now that'd be more of an interesting way to do it. That's more possible. Yeah. I've been meaning to watch The Inquisitor, and I haven't gotten around to watching it. I actually haven't watched a lot of TV lately because, again, media based on I've been watching something else. Last week Friday, one of my favorite IPs released a new series on Netflix, and over the last 4 days, I have binged all 10 episodes. I've binged all 10 episodes of Sandman. If you were a fan of the Sandman comic, if you're a fan of the Sandman comic, you will love this series. You're only on 8 right now. I've watched all 10. I finished it last night. It hits all the high points. If you've read the comic, it covers Preludes and Nocturnes, the first 5 episodes, the first 6 issues. And then it covers the Dollhouse, the next 6 issues. So the 10 episodes basically cover the first 12 issues of Sandman, basically. Yeah, I said screw it. I sat here painting and watching it. And great media. Absolutely phenomenal media. I like the fact the guy that they got to play Dream in theater, apparently he's a big dude over in England, but in TV movie type thing, he's a nobody. And he's absolutely perfect. He gets the attitude, he gets the eyes, he gets the look. There are disappointments. I don't want to say anything until it's been out for like a month, or I'm talking to somebody that I know has already seen it, so I could talk about the couple of issues I have with it. But my issues are so minor, they're nitpicky, and I fully recognize that my issues with it are absolutely nitpicky. They're just me going because nothing is perfect. It's absolutely fabulous. I honestly, if I go back at it, I have exactly one problem with the entire freaking series, and it's the casting of Lucifer. I love her as an actress. Yeah, old man yells. Exactly. Old man yells at cloud. Like I said, I absolutely love the series. I am not 100% behind the casting on Lucifer. I think they could have cast somebody better, but I'm not complaining about the casting because she's not terrible. It's just when everything is here, when everything is like off the chart this good, and one thing is here, it's the one fault you see, and that's the problem, because the rest of it's up here. The rest of it up here is so amazing that one little thing just kind of sticks out like a freaking sliver underneath of a thumbnail. It's like, I can't stop looking at it. So absolutely, it is still an amazing watch. You know, the funny thing is, I'll tell you, Art, if you've never read the comics, you won't have the problem with the casting that I have in the casting of Lucifer. You will not have a problem with the casting at all. Because like I said, my issue with the casting is so meticulously nitpicky, and I recognize that about myself. It's dumb. Just watching it, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. It is well done storytelling. It's still Neil Gaiman's writing. So if you're familiar with Neil Gaiman as a writer, he wrote American Gods, Sandman, obviously. What's the other series of books he wrote that were really, really good? That they did a conversion of them recently. I remember there's another thing. Yeah, no, it's absolutely fabulous. It's really, really good. No, that's Alan Moore. Watchmen is Alan Moore. We have this conversation. American Gods. There was one other one that he did, and I can't think of the name top of it off my head. But yeah, no, it's absolutely worth watching. It's really, even if you've never read the comics, they explain everything, which is really good. Anansi Boys, thank you. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, Anansi Boys. Yes. So yeah, it's if you love those two, you'll love this. It's just fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Again, I've been the media I've been consuming lately has been stuff like that. Like, and I still we'll get back to Warhammer at some point, but it's interesting that media has been taking away from things like the recent season of The Boys came out, and oh my god, that was so good. And then the recent season of Umbrella Academy came out, and yeah, and that was a big part of it. I mean, honestly, I have played exactly like 3 games of 40K in the last 2 months. I haven't really played a lot. I've been playing. When I play, I've been playing Age of Sigmar, and I've been not playing and helping other people play, and I've been playing 30K and other stuff, and watching media and painting and filling all my other needs. It's been good. But yeah, Umbrella Academy season 3, The Boys season 3. Oh my gosh, those are both so good. Miss Marvel. I just drank up every episode of Miss Marvel, and now we've got She-Hulk coming out. Oh, yeah, it's been crazy. There's so much good media going on right now, and that makes me come back to 40K and go, yeah, it's going to be great. It's such a good comic, so it'll be great to see. And that's what makes me come back to 40K and go, guys, Hammer and Bolter's good, but why can't we do a story, like an ongoing story? And I don't even have to have it be about Space Wolves. I mean, as much as you guys know I love Space Wolves, just how about a kill team of what do you call it? Death Watch, and do a series about a group of Death Watch, all from a bunch of different chapters, dealing with a Xeno threat, or dealing with a series of Xeno threats. I think that would be a really good basis for a 40K ongoing series, that you would get to see the world on a whole, but see characters. Now that goes back to the whole doing it like the Clone Wars saga, except do it with a group of Death Watch guys and set it in modern 40K. You could explore the setting. You could explore each of the Xenos. You could explore Chaos. You could really travel around the IP universe doing an animated show about a group of Death Watch. And it would be okay if somebody got killed now and again and you replace them with somebody from another chapter. Or even somebody gets badly wounded and now yeah, okay. That sounds like it could be good. But I was saying it'd be cool, like injure one Marine so badly that they have to put him into a dreadnought and do an entire episode about what it takes for a Marine and what it means to be put into a dreadnought, and how, we as game players like, dreadnoughts are great, but they're really a very horrific experience for the poor Marines that are chosen, so honored to be chosen to be put in a dreadnought. We'll never forget from the 8th edition codex when they're talking about a Hellbrute, which is basically a Chaos dreadnought, as they're putting the Marine into the Death Guard codex. There's a little piece of just flavor text as they're putting him in there. How the Dark Mechanicum, as they're sealing him away to put him into this Hellbrute, he pleading with them and begging with them, don't seal me in here, just let me die. And it was so, and when you realize that dreadnoughts are a horrific thing, and to do an episode about that, the loss of of a character that you've met and been through multiple episodes, and now he's in a dreadnought. I think that'd be an interesting story. I think the Warhammer Adventures are fun. It's Warhammer, but calm down for kids. I don't know about that. I don't know how they do War. I haven't read the books. I know you've had them and read them with Lizzie and all that. I don't understand how you can do Warhammer for kids and have it even be remotely near the actual world setting. I mean, children are basically sandwiches that haven't been made yet. They're food on the hoof. You say that, Kami, but if you ever read any of the stuff about the painful existence of a Marine in a dreadnought, it's not a pleasant experience. It's not. I mean, many of them are honored to be chosen. They feel honored to be chosen. They were so talented and so honored that they deserved a second chance at life. But I mean, they just take the fragments of the body that are left and kind of lock them into this casket and then put them in this machine for all eternity, until they die. And sometimes, because when they're not in use, they basically go into stasis sleep. Like my beloved Bjorn the Fell-Handed, 10,000 years old. He is ancient because he's being kept alive by basically a fluid vat that his body, the remnants of his body, float in. So no, it's not as bad as the Hellbrute. Obviously, it's not as bad as the Hellbrute. Although there's some argument that potentially the Redemptor might be, because it's hypercharged. So those poor guys, they go mad in those Redemptors. So I don't know. Either case, I still think it'd be an interesting thing to deal with, the fact that your friend is now mostly dead. So we're coming up on the 1 hour mark. Yeah, he is. Yeah. Coming up on the 1 hour mark of the show. So I see a lot of you have already given me a thumbs up. I really appreciate y'all. If you haven't hit subscribe, please do and ring that bell. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate everybody that's here today. Rather than doing it at the end, I want to give a big shout out today during the middle of the stream so that people get to see how thankful I am to my Patreons. I have a couple of new patrons starting this month, and I want to just say thanks and hi to all my new patrons and all my existing ones. So I'm going to quick pop over here, and I want to make sure I get everybody's, because they've changed this up, and I want to make sure I get everybody properly greeted and thanked, because I do appreciate everything you guys do for me. So I want to start off with, first off, my Battle Brother tier, my Battle Brother tier, the $1 a month patrons. And that we have Inquisitor Zane, Mini Warmutt, my brother, the wonderful master modeler Alex Drake, and one of our two newest patrons, Tina Raven. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. $1 every month. That's 4 of you. That's a pot of paint a month. That's an extra set of X-Acto blades, and coming soon with everything you guys have done, that's a new camera coming up. I got my next tier, which are my battle leaders. These guys are $3 a month, and I appreciate it. $3 a month, yeah, it's a cup of coffee a month to you, but that comes up to the 3 of you. That's $10, basically $10 a month, and that means, that's part of a model kit, or if I want to get like an extra add-on kit or something that I can do for this, or get some supplies for doing tutorials, and I appreciate that. I really do. So my man out of Cleveland, Joe Bookish, Black Rose Dragonite, better known as Mythos Kushranada, and my buddy, the other newest of our patrons, Big Ben Carrasquillo. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. And then lastly, I have my two $10 patrons, my $10 a month, my two Warlord level patrons. And these two are so very special to me, and I thank you guys so much. You're special people outside of this. And the fact that you still think enough of me to throw that $10 at me every month, it means a lot to me. It really does. And it's kind of like makes me think the channel is doing something for somebody. So I appreciate that. So I want to give a big shout out to the Pirate Phoenix. Thank you so much, darling. And of course, our moderator, the man that keeps everyone in line, the man that brings the band hammer, coming in from a higher orbit, my buddy, one of my best friends in the world over, the Commodore. I thank you guys all so much. I thank all of you so very much. I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me every week. And I really do appreciate the patronage. We have some news on the horizon that it's a news on the horizon for some stuff that's coming with the channel. Let me quick here. Play Mom and Air compared to whoever was supposed to be taking care of those group of kids. Yeah, I can tell you that. So this month, in a week and a half, I'm going to be participating in a tournament. It'll be 3 rounds. I will have new camera gear in time for that tournament. So with the approval of Mr. Kirschbaum, the administrator for that, and as long as my opponents are okay with it, I will be filming each of my 3 battles on the 20th and turn them into battle reports from the perspective of trying to play competitive Warhammer 40K. Because I will have that camera, we're going to start cranking out some of our tutorials in how to play 30K, how to play 40K, and how to play Age of Sigmar. There's a few more points to this. Yes, it will be at Factlandia. I am right now working with Lady D on a proposal for a new tournament that at best it'll be turned into a yearly tournament. Or I should say at worst it'll be this one shot and that's it. But if it goes moderately okay, it'll be a once a year tournament. If it goes really well, we're going to try doing it quarterly. But I'm working with Lady D and with Game Universe and Mech One. I'm trying to put forth a proposal to create a series of Age of Sigmar tournaments presented by me called The Dragon's Eye. And so the first one right now, we have to finish putting together a proposal. I was going to try and work with Warpstorm on it, but we've come to realize there are some hurdles that aren't going to be gotten past. So we're moving forward with kind of doing this as part of the channel here. So I'm going to try and film parts of that. And that's going to be at the Game Universe at least the first one will be in Mech 1. We'll see if it ends up moving between the different game universes. But it will be definitely a dedicated 2,000 point Age of Sigmar tournament. So I'm looking forward to making that happen. I will not be playing any of them because I'm going to be kind of running them, and we're gonna try and have some fun with it. So it's still in the proposal phase. There's still a lot that has to be worked out. But Ryan, who runs Warpstorm, has offered to give me a little bit of a hand behind the scenes so I can get everything up to speed and be prepared for it so I can put together this proposal, hopefully in the next few days, and give it to GU to see if we can make this happen. So trying to expand what Big D and what the Gamecraft Dragon's all about. So wish me luck. I hope it should go well. And as we get more dates and more information, we'll definitely promote it because I'm hoping a few of you will show up and actually play at this thing. What else is going on? Well, we just had Gen Con. Gen Con was great. I had a lot of people talking about how great Gen Con was. Ben was there. Ben came back, which is shocking. We figured he'd stay in Indianapolis. Being that Indianapolis is the cultural center of Indiana, I guess. I was shocked that there weren't more big reveals. No, Warpstorm wants to do Age of Sigmar. The problem is not with the game system. It's a business thing. Not worth going into, but it's a business thing. It's easier to make it happen independently than trying to make it happen. And just leave it at that. No, actually, then because that's the funny thing. We've been Kirsch and I have been talking about trying to work Age of Sigmar, especially when we've been talking with the guys at Hobby Nights up in West Bend, because they've got a pretty big Age of Sigmar base of players up there. Been trying to work Age of Sigmar into, say, the rotation, or like one every couple of months in there. And I appreciate that, Kirsch. I really do, because I've got a lot of questions. I know the basics, and I just need kind of someone to hold my hand until I can get the ball rolling. And then once we get the ball rolling, I mean, it works or it doesn't. That'll be the whole thing. We'll get one off the ground, and if we get the one off the ground and it works, then we'll just keep rolling it and until it goes flat. It's a shame that Ben, who is a massive Age of Sigmar player, to those of you who don't know this about Ben, Ben and Tina are great Age of Sigmar players. They're big Age of Sigmar players. They're great players, great armies, great painters. The problem is they have cordoned themselves off to the other side of town. And basically on this side, we're up here, we're kind of like North Korea. Just so, yeah. Everybody wants to do everything down there because everybody lives down on the south side of town. I mean, I look at poor Kirsch. He lives far out west, and he comes all the way down here to do shit with us. So, if we get the whole Dragon Eye thing working, we may end up doing Mechwan, Alaska. Yeah, there you go. If we get it working, we might be able to do it. We might be able to do one quarter. We do it in Mechwan, and then the next quarter we do it in Brookfield, and then we do the next one in the Franklin, and kind of move it around the 3 locations. Lake country, whoop, whoop, whatever. I live up north. I live up in the north. There's a lot of horrible racist things I could say about living on the north side of town is that I won't say because I don't want my wife to come in here and try hitting me. If Warp Storm takes the stuff I learned from doing, because I'm still in part of the Warp Storm team, if we take the stuff I learn and add it into the Warp Storm repertoire, then we'll run one at FAC. That'd be great. Man, y'all are just like crybabies. I get on the FAC almost every weekend. I get on the Saucet every weekend. It's not that bad. It's a half-hour drive. Wednesdays are going to stay Horus Heresy night, like indefinitely. As far as Horus Heresy goes, Wednesdays are going to stay an indefinite. We're playing Horus Heresy on Wednesdays. That's going to be, at this point, I don't even think we're an escalation league or anything like that. I think it's just we're a bunch of Horus Heresy players. We get together on Wednesday. We talk about Horus Heresy. We build Horus Heresy. We paint Horus Heresy, or we play Horus Heresy. So I think Wednesday is just Heresy night. So, y'all a bunch of crybabies. If I get plenty of painting done this weekend, I want to try and get a game in with my word bearers. I want to try and get a game in with them this Thursday if possible. So, Art, if you're going to be there Thursday for 40K, you and I should throw down, because you and I haven't been able to play in a while. And then I might try and come down to FAC on Saturday to play some Heresy. I mean, to play some 40K. Just trying to tune up before this tournament. In a perfect world, I'd love to get a 40K player up to Mechwan on Saturday, because we can start at like 10 and we can play until the game's done, rather than me have to leave halfway through the game and blowing my day up. So that'll be good to go, man. If I can't get somebody to come up to Mechwan on Saturday, I will be at Faclandia. If nothing else, if I can't get a 40K game, I might Maybe play some Age of Sigmar. We'll see. And Kill Team Friday. Do not forget about Kill Team Friday. Kill Team Friday is great. I got to say, I was sick last week, so I didn't get a chance to talk about it. I got to play the new Kill Team the week before. And gosh, if you're not playing Kill Team, what is wrong with you? Kill Team is an outstanding game. The crazy thing about playing the game of Kill Team made me go, man, I need to play some Warcry, because the new Kill Team plays like the old Warcry, or it kind of seemed to. And I don't know, I really enjoyed the old Warcry a lot, so I really enjoyed the new Kill Team a lot. I like the new Kill Team so much more. Kill Team 2.0 is 10 times better than Kill Team 1.0, and I like Kill Team. I liked it. This is so much better, I can't even tell you. So, Kill Team Friday at Games Workshop in Layton Avenue, Milwaukee. Want to play Kill Team? Come on up. I'm going to probably do that, then drop the wife off and then play some Magic the Gathering. Because holy crap, I've enjoyed playing that lately. They got me back. I don't know, man. I want to get these figures painted, and I want to get Commodore stuff painted, and then I don't want to paint anything for a while. I want to play. I want to play freaking games. And Ben knows exactly what I'm talking about, because we have this conversation. I want to play games. I want to play. I want to sit down with another human being and try my best to kill them while they try their best to kill me, and have us both have a wonderful time. I want Kirsch to bring out his Tau, and I want to bring my Chaos against his Tau, and I want us to murder each other until we're both laughing over a beer. I want my buddy Commodore to drag out his Lannisters so I can drag out my Freeman and just murder bodies and leaving them all over the battlefield in a song of fire and ice. Art, I tell you what, man, if you can get free Friday afternoon, come over to the Games Workshop on Layton. Dude, we'll play with you. We will teach you. It is a fun game, man. You just need to build a team and let's go. Let's go. It's fun. It's quick and it's fast too. I mean, once you learn how to play the game goes fast. I mean, it's like a 45-minute hour game at most. Like at most. You're typically like 30 or 45 minutes, really. Once you know the rules and you're going with it, it's 45 minutes. Easy. Yeah, I mean, let's just get in there and kill each other. Let's have some fun killing. I gotta murder my wife. I gotta get her back into trying to murder people and murder her some too, because she needs to play more, but she needs to paint some more too. Right now, she is cutting stencils for a massive painting that she was commissioned to do. Some person, some freak of nature wants to pay her to put his night houses and his knights all up on a giant painting, and I don't get it. I mean, that's just some nerd shit right there. And she's cutting stencils for that so she can paint that right now. Little insight, person knows who I'm talking to. She's working on it. She's working on it pretty hard right now. So, I'm telling you, Art, it's a fun game. Tina and Ben can get you. I'm still still learning it, but it comes quick once you understand it. Yeah, Imperial Knights. It's a household. I think it's 4 or 5 knights. And they're all named, and they've all got the specific heraldry and all that. So she's cutting out stencils to do some really special kind of stuff with their heraldry, and doing this piece that's got their world and some heraldry and some other stuff with it. I don't even know what she's all doing with it. I just know she's cutting stencils to do their heraldry right now. So, yeah, somebody commissioned Imperial Knight artwork. Like, who would do that? So, what's coming up for the next week? So, this week, like I said, we got Horus Heresy coming in tomorrow. We got, I'm actually tomorrow going to be teaching somebody the basics of 40K because they can't make it on Thursdays and Saturdays are hard for them. But they really want to get in the hobby. They bought the box set. They really like Marines. And they really want to learn how to play the basics of the game. So I'm going to be sitting down with a new player and just rolling some dice and teaching them some basics of how to play 40K tomorrow. Meanwhile, trying to get people to play more Horus Heresy because Horus Heresy is a great fun game. Gosh, I did not think I would like Heresy this much, and I do. I absolutely love that game. So much fun. But long, man, games go long. That's the only real problem with it. Games go long. That's really one of those things you got to have an all-day thing to do. And then Thursday, we've got 40K. Again, I'm going to try and play my Word Bearers here. Try to get another practice game in with them before the tournament. Otherwise, if I can't get anyone in that, I'll probably throw my Nurgles at some stuff if we get some Age of Sigmar players. I'm painting every night that I'm not playing. Saturday, if I can get a game, I will get a game. If I can't get a game, I will just sit and paint. I got some training to do. I got these guys to do. When they're all done, and that's all done, I don't know what's next. I just want to focus on one project at a time. Probably painting up a few more Arshalin. First off, good to see you. Yeah, I can't, and that's the thing. I gotta say, the reactions in Heresy really do just make the game feel like a different game. The fact that guys don't just fall off the board in droves. Like, you have one round of shooting. In 40K, if you completely unload into a unit with all your guys, you're going to drop a bunch of dudes. We've had fights where we've had two armies just absolutely at each other, and like a couple dudes fell here and one dude fell there, and that was it. And then they charged in the combo each other and smash, and like one guy fell here and two guys fell here, and that was it. And it's a really different feeling game because it's not a game of attrition like 40K is. And I think that's the biggest thing. 40K is a game of attrition. You're trying to eliminate your enemy's pieces so that you can take actions and do the things you need to do to win the game. And in 30K, you're trying to stymie your opponent by plugging them up and maintaining control over what is going on in the battlefield. Like, you can play 5 rounds of that game and still have at least a half to 2/3 your army on the board, and that wouldn't be a bad game. It's just the way the game plays. It plays differently. You don't just see like the one-turn deletes like you do in 40K. And I think that's to me, at least one of the more satisfying parts of Heresy. Your mileage may vary. I have to say, Sons of Horus are a pain in the ass to play against. Yeah, that is the one thing. The Contemptors are, unfortunately, to a point where they're this really odd mix between a vehicle and a character. And they charge and mash through people. Like if you run a Contemptor up and attack a group of dudes, that Contemptor is going to absolutely just munch that group of dudes. And the guys that it's fighting, unless they've got really good weapons, they're pretty much just going to die. They literally can't even wound the thing. They may have to fall back out of the way and then let something with big guns shoot at it and just hope that they can bear the brunt of being charged by it again. And so that is the thing. I think dreadnoughts are pretty nasty in that respect. In that game, because dreadnoughts kind of bridge between vehicles which are so much more durable than they are in 40K. I mean, honestly, if you play 40K, you take 20 Marines with bolt guns and unload on a tank, you're going to rip it to pieces just through sheer volume of shots. Not the case in Horus Heresy. You're more than likely not even get to roll wounds because you're just not a strong enough weapon to hit it. What do you got here? Yeah. I mean, that really is it. I mean, it's so hard to hurt those Contemptors. I mean, they're just so powerful. And now that we're going to probably start seeing more and more Leviathans come on the board, and Leviathans are making Contemptors look like babies. And Leviathans, like I've got a Leviathan I'm bringing in for my Space Wolves, and that Leviathan's going to be like, I get rid of tanks, and look, it's guys. And taking out squads at a time. So, yeah. It's dreadnoughts get rid of infantry, and infantry are how you score points in this game. So there are certain armies that rely on dreadnoughts a lot, and they're going to be armies you have to deal with. My Space Wolves are going to have big problems with that. They're going to have to bring more things with higher strength attacks to go into Contemptors and Leviathans eventually to hurt them. So I just don't have enough high strength weapons. And that's really what you need to deal with dreadnoughts. So, no game system's perfect. I think it's more balanced than, say, trying to kill a dreadnought with guard, and guard just take a bunch of las guns and 40 las guns. It's dead dreadnought. La la la. Pretty bad. But that being said, I think we're going to wrap up for the night here, folks. If you got any last questions or any thoughts, quick throw them out there for me. We can talk about them. We only got a couple minutes left. I'd like for you to think about as we move forward this next week. If you haven't played Warcry or Kill Team, and you have a chance to play them, or you have a friend with the rule set, play it. I'm telling you, you'll enjoy it. It's a game played in a very different way, and it's a lot of fun. A lot more interactive, and a lot quicker game. And not that I dislike longer games, but sometimes reality just doesn't give you the reality doesn't give you the time to sit down and play 5 hours of a game. And I've seen 40K games go that long. I think we all have. 45 minutes for a game of Kill Team is a good time. Warcry is pretty much the same way. That new Warcry box looks amazing. $230 is a little chompy, but we may pick one up. Especially since I know of a few people that are playing Warcry, and I do enjoy the game. And my girls want to come back out and express the delight of the loss of limbs. I forget the name, but I have a warband from the original Warcry, where as they get higher level and higher secrets into their cult, They remove limbs and just replace them with blades. So, like the leader of it is running around on basically 4 swords. Her legs are gone from like mid thigh down. They're just a pair of bladed hooks, and her arms are basically a pair of blades with chains and barbs on them. And the whole army is so fun to play, and they're really fun to play in Warcry. So play a good game, but play it in a different way. Heresy is a very different way to play 40K. 40K is fun. Heresy is very narrative and fun. Warcry is a narrative way to play Age of Sigmar. Where there's narrative as Sigmar is, it's even more narrative and more closely controlled. Kill Team is a great way to tell stories in a very small squad. My group of Cadian Guard versus Tina's Sisters of Battle was a fun game. So playing different games, playing games you know in different ways, it's always a good way to expand the joy we find from rolling dice. And that's what this is about. This whole hobby. We buy toys, we paint toys, we play with toys to get more toys, to paint more toys. So we can build more toys and paint them and play with them. We're grown people playing with the toys we can't afford as kids. And that's what it is. So, the deepest cockles of my heart, I thank all of you for being with me tonight. Again, I thank all my patrons. Thank you so much. Thank you for my subscribers. We're getting really close to that 700 mark. We're going to have 700 subscribers really soon. I'm looking forward to that day. Thank you so much, everyone. And we will see you soon. Until then, play more games, roll more dice, and be epic. Game on, folks. We'll see you soon.